Let's go ahead and just get started. Other people can hop on if they'd like. I appreciate y'all for coming on and checking it out. So first things first, we can clearly see on the dollar, still in this same demand area. I always remark up my charts every week, but still in this same demand area we've been in for a while. We'll just bring this over here, demand. And last week it looks like we got a little rejection off of the demand. I'm liking that. So from a weekly standpoint, it looks like we finally might have bottomed out and we could be heading to the upside. On the daily, it's still kind of going a little sideways, right? And we're still struggling to kind of break this high right here, which is the 50 EMA as well. So once it breaks through right here, I'm definitely a lot more bullish on the dollar. Regardless, I am and have been bullish on the dollar just because we're in this demand area. So let's go down to the 4 hour. And you can see this nice little rally that it had. I'm really liking this push. It had a nice push here. It retraced and then it pushed again. So I am expecting another kind of move up similar to what we had here to bring it up there. So what I'm going to do is go on to the fibs. Just turn this down a hair. Go into the fibs and break these out, the impulse fibs. And I'm going to look for price to come back down a little bit before it ends up making the move that I want it to make. So I want it to come down into here, into this buy box, and then I want it to fly. So it's starting to flag out a little bit now, which is good. I don't want to see it pop up above here before it gets down into this area. I would really like this to retrace before it moves up. And the reason I say that is because on the 1 hour, you can see that there is a good amount of momentum that happened. And if it just moves to the upside like this, there's definitely going to be some bearish divergence. And that's not what I want to see. I want to see the market come down into this area first and then to move up. So if it doesn't do this, then I'm expecting it to pretty much do that. So one of those two is what I'm looking at for the dollar. Ultimately, that buy box is really where I want it to come into. So let me just throw this in right here. And that's really what I'm looking at for the dollar. You can see the nice bull flag. Hopefully it just stays in this little bull flag and takes off to the upside. If not, like I said, when it comes up into this area, it's most likely going to drop at least back into this 50 EMA because of I'm already seeing some possible divergence that's going to happen just based off of how big this impulse was. So let's see if we can get this move for the dollar. Okay, on the euro, it's going to be pretty much the inverse. So we haven't been able to break this area. I went to the monthly, no need to look at that. We haven't been able to break through the supply area. So let's bring this down like that. And we actually get a good amount of wicks off of the supply. So I'm definitely bearish, not just looking for it to just turn around here, especially based off the price action that we saw Friday. So we had a nice bearish candle Friday. It's still at this 50 EMA, so there is, I guess, hope for the bulls still, but this is not in a bullish structure on a lower time frame whatsoever. And with the volume that came in, I'm liking the bear volume. So let's go down to the 4 hour. And it's pretty much forming a bear flag right now. And I like to see this big impulse and then choppy sideways. It's kind of telling me that price is definitely not wanting to just fly to the upside. It's telling me that the sellers are holding the buyers down. So on the 1 hour, you can see it a lot cleaner. Very nice bear flag. And you can see the volume over here to the right. The volume profile is heavy over here. So let's bring these fibs out from high to low of the impulse. How I spot my impulses, right, is the MACD. So the 31016 MACD that I use, and you can see this is a big impulse. Broke all types of structure in the MACD. So we should see another wave to the downside. And same thing with the dollar. If it doesn't go into the area that I want it to retrace to and it just keeps falling, then it's probably going to end up showing some type of divergence. So let's do a sell box right up here. See, it lines up really nice with the volume profile. There's not a lot of liquidity or volume right here. So if price does start to move to the upside, I do think it's going to slip all the way into this first little area where it's a little bit darker. Ultimately, I would love the 78.6 and then a drop to the downside. So that's what I'm looking for on EU ultimately. But same thing, we have this nice impulse. If price does make a lower low here and the MACD gives the divergence, then that could be a possible area to scalp back up. A little bit more risky, of course, so I'm really just leaning towards this right here overall, and it's just a pretty simple setup that I look for a lot. We're starting to already get like the little A, I want to see B, C move up here to the downside, or I want to see it just continue to flag out like it is and then drop. So if it impulses up here, it'll be a little bit more sketchy. So I would say if you're one of those people who kind of like the 61.8, but the price impulse is fast, you might want to just wait for that 78.6, because if that gets clipped, you're going to have a nicer risk to reward up here. Plus the volume is sticking out like a sore thumb. So I'm really liking this setup on EU. AU is going to be, oh, it's already taken off. AU is very similar, of course, on the 1 hour. You see the flag. Let's go look at this on the weekly. I'm going to try to go a little faster this week. So, pretty sideways on the weekly. Nothing really too pretty in my opinion. You know, you still got this area that was never broken. You still got kind of this area that was never broken, so it's still kind of in between zones right there. On the daily, it's in between even more zones. So we'll draw that out right here. This never broke, and I'll put this one up here. So it's red for sells and blue for buys. So until it really breaks out, you know, ultimately I think it's going to end up coming down here. But until it kind of breaks these lows, it's a little bit risky, right? Because it's just been ranging. But we do have a good little move down right here. So when the market's going sideways right there, you can pretty much just take these moving averages out of the picture because they're useless in the sideways market. One thing I really like about AU, but it can go both ways. So let me just explain this real quick. You see how there was a whole bunch of lows right here, and then the market did a quick move down and then a quick move up. So when that happens, I usually like to look for buying positions in this area. But also, on the 1 hour, it did quite the opposite, where there was equal highs up here, and it did a quick move up, quick move down. So there's kind of two ways I could look at AU, which makes it a 50-50 setup, in my opinion. I don't love 50-50 setups at all. So, but I really usually look at the most recent move, right? So the most recent move, manipulation move, was here to here, and now we're just kind of flagging out. So I would need to see some type of harmonic at this point. I would need to see something like this to sell AU. But it's risky because we're coming into this area of demand. So regardless that this is a zone, you can see it was strong demand. Heavy manipulation one way, heavy manipulation the other way. So the banks we're definitely in the market right here. When it gets into this spot again, it might be a good area to look to buy, to be honest. Now, if the dollar continues to the upside, this is just going to tank straight through it. But we'll see what that dollar really does. Like I said, if the dollar's showing divergence and all these other pairs are showing divergence, it's a good setup to buy. So let's go here, and this is how I kind of look to see where the market could go for some divergence areas. And it almost lines up really well with this volume point of control from the day of the manipulation. So I'm going to set this alert here. I'm just going to call it divergence. And if price gets down there with this 1 hour divergence, then I might look for a little scalping opportunity. But ultimately, like I said, I would really like to see a similar move like like EU. I would like to see the market come up into this buy or sell zone way up here and drop from there based off of this manipulation. Okay. So it's either coming down into this, showing the divergence, trying to get a little pop, or I want to see it come up into the sell box and drop. Either way, if it breaks these lows, I'm not looking for the sell like this. I'm not looking for that. I'm only looking for those two options. Okay. I am going to put an alert up here at the 61.8 as well. And I'm going to go back to EU and put an alert at the 61.8 real quick. Like I said, I would rather play the 78.6, but I like to know when price gets to my area before I actually trade it. So I'm going to have alerts set there. Okay. GU looks like a little inverted head and shoulders on the 1 hour. Let's look at the weekly real quick. Trying to get some odds off this. So definitely, let's mark this high right there. Getting pretty close to this area where price is sold off from, or pretty much did get into that area where price is sold off from. Still has this mad bearish divergence, so I'm not looking for any buys on GU unless it's a risky little scalp. And nothing wrong with throwing some risk into the market and kind of going against the trend. It's just, you know, your odds and probability is a little bit lower of actually, you know, hitting your trade. So I'm going to take this swing. I know I'm not looking for buys, but I'm just looking to see where the 61.8 is. Okay, down in here. So I'm going to mark this price off. And one thing that's interesting is this 61.8 swing lines up really well with this previous structure. And also you can see the volume is very low here. So what I'm seeing is once EU does break here, it has a pretty good chance to move quickly to the 61.8. There's no volume or no liquidity here. Usually means there's no orders in the market and price is just going to move kind of fast. You can see how it moved fast right here and it moved fast right here. So I would expect it to move fast again if it does break down. Let me see if the 4 hour is setting up on anything. Yeah, this is really sideways. So I'll probably stay out of GU just because of how sideways it looks. There's a lot of liquidity resting up here as well. You can see the little manipulation that it did up here, and then it kind of fell, and it just hasn't really broken up yet. What usually happens when I try to play these type of setups is this area ends up getting hit. So something like that, and then that usually happens. And I'll put like my stop loss right here, and it'll smack my stop, and then it'll go down. So I try to stay out of those type of, you know, scenarios. I'm actually going to keep this on right here, just because if this breaks, we should, like I said, see that move to the downside. Let me see the 1 hour. A little bit of inverted head and shoulders right here. I'm not against it. You'd have to go down to the 15-minute to really find an entry, in my opinion. So if you're bullish on GU, this could be that little scalping opportunity right there. And I'm going to put this alert right at the 78.6. So if nothing is setting up tomorrow, if the dollar looks like it's going to drop tomorrow, you know, based off the divergence, then this might be kind of an okay looking setup. Bringing it all the way up into this untested volume. So let me bring this range into the picture and see what the volume looks like. Okay, so there is still, like I said, a lot of volume up in these areas. That's where, you know, you got to be cautious putting your stop loss up here, to be honest, on GU, because price looks like it could very well go up there. And if the pound takes over versus the dollar, say the dollar doesn't have much strength or weakness, say it's kind of neutral, and the pound starts to take over, you know, get strong, this could really go. So let's see here. I'm going to take this fib also from here to here, and the TPs are lining up with the sell box. So the TP from, if you're looking to buy, is lining up with the TP for, or not the TP, but the TPs are lining up for the sell box. So it's kind of a little interesting play here. This is going to be more of, you know, kind of watch what happens during the market, how the market's moving tomorrow, to figure out which one of these I really want to play. So if I do buy, I'm going to take profit up here. If I sell, I'm gonna have to understand that this stop loss that I would end up placing somewhere, I would like to get in at that spot. The stop loss is very risky based off the liquidity up here, but I'd be taking it down into the next area down in here. So it's a really good risk to reward. I believe the fibs do line up with this drop. Yeah, so it is a really good risk to reward, but something to just note to self, that stop loss up there could be kind of risky. Okay, because the higher GU goes, the more people are going to try to sell off this retail resistance. The same thing actually down here. If this gets close to the bottom, people are going to try to buy off the support, right? So you might get your feelings hurt a little bit if the market goes down and then comes up. If that happens, then you should try again. Okay. UJ is booming. The yen is pretty weak right now. Weak yen means any JPY pair is going to go to the moon. So let's look and see what we got for UJ. Overall on the weekly, big bullish flag, right? Inside of a big impulsive move. Well, this impulsive move is inside a big bullish flag. Now, it has rejected here a couple of times though in the past, so I'm not just thinking it's going to go to the moon yet. I don't think. I wanted it personally to come down into these areas before I really looked for this moonshot. That's okay. I'll mark this off for like a swing, and I'll delete that. Let's go to the daily. And on the daily, you know, this kind of looks like a little bearish flag, honestly. You could bring out some channels right here, parallel channels. And it's still inside this little channel that it's got going on. It's coming up to the middle of it as well. So that's something to note. 4 hour. So trying to play against the yen weakness right now might not be the best idea. I'm not sure how long it's going to stay weak. But one thing I do see here is this impulse down. So we had a big impulse up. It retraced, made another impulse up. Okay, higher highs. MACD was showing some divergence at that point. Now we had an impulse down that broke these lows, so a lower low was created. And now it's just flagging out a little bit. So it does kind of look like a bearish flag right here. And what I would need to see at this point, is I don't necessarily want to play the swing because I'm not a swing trader. I don't love taking positions off the 4-hour time frame, but this is in the spot that I would look to take that position. You know, it's a swing trade with only about a 25 pip stop loss, so that's not, you don't see that every day. And I would be targeting these lows down here, lining up with the 61.8 extension. So what I need to see on UJ if I want to trade it, one, I want to see the dollar look kind of bearish, right? I'm bullish on the dollar, but it could retrace a little bit still. I would like to see a bearish dollar, and then also two things would need to happen. I would either need to see an impulse down that breaks this, or on the lower time frames, we're already starting to get it, some divergence. So you can see market made a nice impulse up, and now we're making these higher highs. Momentum is not carrying over with that. So if it gives like a three-wave divergence pattern, like 1, 2, 3, I know it'd be close to stop loss, so that would still be a good entry, to be honest. If it can just impulse down on the 15-minute, that might be another good area to look to go short as well. One thing I don't love doing though, I'm an intraday trader, but I don't love going against daily candles that close like this. So you can clearly see the daily candle close with barely any wick. So the momentum on the daily still is pushing to the upside. So trying to find like a top in the market whenever you see something like this is rather risky. Now you can kind of see every time it did do this, it really gave a bearish day the next day. So maybe it'll do something like that again. If so, then we should see a couple more days of bearishness too to try to find another position. But UJ doesn't look terrible. It's just going against my rules technically to trade it right now based off of what it did yesterday. So I need to see an impulse down on the 15-minute, or I need to see a break of structure on the 1 hour to really confirm that this thing should start to swing down. I'm not a big fan of swing trades, so trying to catch inside this swing, I'll try to catch something like this and try to catch this wave, or try to catch this wave. By then it should start to fall down. Okay, and then maybe possibly within this wave try to catch like something like that. All right, you chef, let's go to the weekly and see how this weekly candle closed. All right, we're throwing wicks to the downside. So if you've been on my analysis, you know this is the area I've been looking for the swing, more like a position trade, right? This area right here, we're still in this, and I want the market to eventually come all the way up here. Now, that's like a humongous swing trade that I'm not even trying to be a part of. That would be something like this, like a 230 pip stop, and just a ridiculous 920 pips, right? I'm not even thinking about that to trade it. I'm just knowing I'm in an area of high probability where price could start to move up and find intraday positions. Look at all these positions right here you could have sold from. Now, or you know, in all these days that it went up, I'm just trying to find 1 or 2 good trades within this move to the upside. So you can see the divergence was pretty clear here. As the market was coming down, the momentum was slowing down, and now it looks like it could possibly make its move to the upside. That's what I'll be looking for. Got a little W action going. Got the bullish candle. Yesterday was bullish. I still want to see a retracement before it really pops. Obviously, the structure is up here. It never broke. So once this breaks up here, this thing should take off to the upside exactly how I want it to. But on the 1 hour, it has started to break some structure. You know, definitely broke this trend that it was, little bearish trend that it was in. Broke these wicks, and now it's kind of forming more or less. It could be a rising wedge. It could be a little triangle, ascending triangle. It's got a couple different looks to it right now. Ultimately, I still would like to see it retrace to the downside first. So based off this impulsive move, I'll end up keep moving this fib as long as it doesn't give me a deep retracement. So right now we're here, and I would like to see it come back into this area. I'll make this a buy box. So I want to see it come back into the buy box. What I'm liking about, I'll keep this little range in the picture. That's what the volume profile to the right does. It gives me the volume of everything that's on the screen. So what I like about this setup is that there is no interest down here. Meaning if price comes down here, it should reject pretty clean based off of the volume profile. Now there's a lot of volume here right now and not a lot of volume up here. So really one or two things happen when there's not a lot of volume. It either comes down and it rejects really nice saying I'm not interested, or it just keeps pushing through and goes to the next area of high volume. So where's the next area of high volume? Pretty much up here. So overall, that's where I really want to see UCHEF get to. You can see there's not a lot of volume pretty much right in here compared to up here and right there. So we're actually above the area. We're actually above that area. Let's just zoom in a little bit, right? We're above that right now. So if it can come down into that and then make another move up, that would be lovely. Be exactly what I'd be looking for. So, but one other thing to note is that if it continues to the upside without retracing, we'll probably see some pretty good divergence here. And I mean, you already do see divergence. We're at these highs, making equal highs, and the momentum is dying down. The momentum is not equal. So there's already a chance that this is going to fall tomorrow based off the divergence. I'm not going to play the sell because it could just start to pop. But if it does kind of give a stop hunt look tomorrow, it might be an okay position to try to sell it. I don't really want to go against the momentum. I'm going to put the divergence fibs out, and if it hits this tomorrow with this 1 hour divergence, it's probably a good little scalp back to the 50 EMA. So I'm just going to note it for myself. Divergence 90.14, 90.13 area. Let's bring it down to 90.13 area, and yeah, watch for that. Because this would be that 1, 2, 3 look I kind of look for to bring it back down just to the 50 EMA. Ultimately, let's get this buy. See a bullish dollar. Everyone in the world is pretty much bearish on the dollar, so that's another reason why I'm more bullish on it than anything. I know the fundamentals are going way against that, but the technicals are leaning towards the dollar trying to push to the upside. So I'm here for that. Oh, come on. So this is impulsed pretty nicely, and it's flagging out, and it's most likely going to move to the upside based off this inverted head and shoulders. Let's look at this on the weekly first before I really go into it like that. Okay. Weekly, obvious area that it's been held at for a long time down here and up here. Those are your supply and demand zones. This price as well has been kind of interested in the past, and we came back and made a pretty smooth move off of that right there. So I'm still leaning towards the bulls. EG hasn't done shit in a while, so you know, take your 20 pips on EG and run maybe. Daily, right? We've been just bull flagging out for a while now, so I'm still looking at this as a pretty nice bull flag opportunity. That's why I'm trying to lean towards the bulls than the bears on this. The only thing that makes me question if this is going to go up yet or not is that the 78.6 down here still hasn't gotten hit. So this is just a price that in the past has reacted off of. I'm just going to delete it because we got a big reaction right there to look at. and there is still a little bit of imbalance with this area down here. You can see the volume sticking out a little bit right there as well. And these equal lows down here are a little bit suspect. The daily candle closed with a wick to the upside after kind of a nice bearish candle. So it is a little risky buying EG right now, to be honest, but we've reacted off the 61.8 once, twice, almost 3 times. It might be ready to go. The 4 hour isn't quite, the momentum is starting to snap to the upside, but the trend line is still below 0, meaning it's bearish, but it's starting to point up. Not above the 50 EMA yet, so the indicators aren't necessarily bullish quite yet. There was a nice little impulse right here. Let's see, the last time that it broke that was June 9th, so not too long ago. Nice little impulse up though. That's what I'm seeing. I'm going to play this little impulse most likely to bring price back up into these imbalanced areas. So right here, I'm looking for this inverted head and shoulders to play out. We got the left, we got the head. I want the right shoulder to come down to the 78.6 and then move to the upside. Just because it's kind of a risky play, I'm going to definitely wait for the 78.6. Obviously the 61.8's already got rejected a couple times. So let me just go down to this lower time frame. Got a little bit of liquidity resting here, so I would kind of like to see, we just broke above, so I'd kind of like to see it come down and break that, and then make another move, sharp move up, to see something like that happen. A little risky. I think some other plays are looking better for tomorrow if they can play out, but this one's kind of already sitting at a possible area. So I'm going to put this alert here at the 78.6, and when price gets down there, I'm most likely going to just have a limit order to where it's going to activate for me, and it's just win or lose type position here. Since it is a little risky, based off of the equal lows, based off of the daily, I'm basically playing a 15-minute impulse with, the flag here, and I want to see the move up. It's a very short stop, like Derek Jeter. So I'm going to start calling these like the Derek Jeters. And it's, I would say, 8-pip stop for 47 pips. Bringing it back into this area of volume that hasn't been touched yet. So I like that. I'm not against this move at all on EG. GJ wilding a little bit. Let's go to the weekly and see what we got on GJ. So it has not necessarily broken down in a while. It's kind of tough to just want to keep selling it. The trend is your friend until it's not. So we're at this area where it has sold off pretty heavy from. Sold off pretty heavy over here as well. So I'm questioning any more bullish movement, to be honest, on GJ. But with this daily candle, right, like I said, the yen was very weak. So when the yen is weak, GJ is going to go up. It came right off of this, I know Abdul was looking at this and he sniped this little position down here, and it's just moving up. I know a lot of people are actually looking at this break and retest. Y'all hit that. Just kind of goes against my rules trying to buy when we're in an area where we've sold off from in the past. But I can't not see this bullish candle there. So let's go to the 4 hour. And really this was a very clean retry right here. Abdul called this out on his session. You can see how these lows right here were manipulated, and then we had a quick move up. Quick move down, quick move up. Price came back into the 78.6, and it's already pushing up to probably hit these TPs. So at this point, you know, if you didn't get at GJ here, I would think the next position would be down in here. So we have this quick move down, quick move up. I would say the next position for GJ would be down in this area if you're looking to bring it back up to the upside. Now, I can't go against that. I don't see anything else with it really. You know, it is a little choppy, a little sideways. It doesn't really know which way it really wants to go. That would be the only risk in my opinion. This area still might hold. I don't really like drawing my fibs like this, but you know, 78.6 is right here. This area it has sold off heavy from, so that's the only risk with it really. I would say, you know, fib this impulse. It's got some divergence on the 1 hour, so the momentum is starting to slow down a little bit. Let's see here. I mean, I still like the move. I'm going to go down to the 15 and see what's up with this. Yeah, it's got some heavy divergence. Okay, so I'm going to put an alert right here on GJ. I'm going to say supply at pretty much 155.50, and prices sold off really nice from that area before, so we'll see what happens with that. If it doesn't give any type of retracement, it's most likely going to give some type of reaction or retracement at this area. So I don't know if I'm going to play it because it's pretty, you know, bullish still, but something like that is most likely what we're going to see on GJ. If it forms the pattern, not just gets there, it needs to form the pattern for me, then I'll be a lot more likely to throw some type of scalp down right here. Something like this, bringing it down into these areas. But right now, I'm going to keep it right here, and I'm going to keep this buy box down in this area. And if it comes down in here, I think it, regardless of where the market's going to go next or whatever, this is going to be a really good risk to reward. Possibly send it up into these areas. Back at the top of this, back at the top of this, those would be your profit taking spots. So just like a move down and then a move up. Or we might get a move like this, down, up. So I'll be watching GJ. It's in an interesting spot right now. Oops. My bad. I pressed the music right when it came up. Okay, GA. GA is pretty much the same thing I've been saying for a while, I think. Kind of ugly on the weekly. Hasn't really wanted to break out here. Hasn't really wanted to break out here, so it's kind of in a range on a higher time frame. As you can see that on the daily. Momentum is not too bullish on the daily yet. It's starting to move up again, but we got the slow line coming down. A lot of wicks to the downside. It's showing some indecision. To me, this looks like a pretty nice, not pretty nice, but it looks like a bear flag starting to form. So if it can come up into the 78.6, I think that would be a good area for swing traders, because this is still a pretty fat stop, I believe. 60 pips, yeah, a little bit too much for me. So it's kind of like UJ, how I said, once it gets here, I would need to see some like 15-minute impulsive moves. I would need to see some type of structure to the downside start to form to try to catch, you know, moves down. So like 15-minute, you can see this right here. I would be looking for something like this within a little flag, and then another boom, boom, boom within those waves. So I'm still waiting on GA to get to the spots that I want. You can see on this 15 minutes forming this little bullish structure still. So I'm definitely waiting for structure to really form to the downside before I look to sell this. Like I said, it's been ranging, so if it comes up to the top of the range, to me, it's a better short than it is buy. We'll have to see what this really wants to do. It's kind of ugly. And EA is literally the same thing. So on the weekly, it has not been doing a whole lot. It's been kind of going sideways. It did break out a little bit to the upside, so let's just mark that off right here. It did break out a little bit to the upside, so this is a little bit more risky. It came back and it retested the broken area, so this could start to make higher highs. It really could. Here's another area where it's rejected, been bearish before. But I'm not really too convinced on the bulls yet. There's nothing really showing me that it wants to just take off. So if anything, what I'm seeing on EA more than anything, one, if I were to buy this, I would need it to retrace into these areas down here. So I'll mark this off down here. I would need to see price come into this zone first. And then second, I'm looking at this right here as a possible manipulation high, and then we broke low and broke structure here. So this was the structure that broke, and we came up, dropped. I'm looking for this to more or less be a really nice harmonic pattern, actually, now that I'm looking at it. So come up into this area and then fall. Taking it from the top to the bottom, and you can see the fibs line up really nice with the area that I'm overall looking the market to go to. Got some good volume up in here as well, low interest above the stop loss. Let's bring in some more price to see if it'll give me anything up here. Okay, lower interest than right here. I'm liking this. Let me throw this on there. Okay, so there is a good amount of volume still way up here. So what this is telling me is if it does start to break up, we're going to get a move like this and head up to that area most likely. But I'm still trying to play price when it gets into here first, right? Something like this. Come all the way down in. Kind of got this little Elliott 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we have this ABC, and then I want to see a move up. So I'm waiting for EA. I'm going to go ahead and put an alert on this. I'll put it just below the 78.6. And this would be another one that I would have to wait on. Once it gets there, I'd have to wait on some bearish price action, because from here to here, I mean, that's 200 and, well, let's see what this is actually. From the 78.6 to the top, it's only 40 pips. So it might be something I actually look to try to hold for a little bit longer than a couple of days. But I know me, I'll probably just pull my profit at like 1 to 1 or 1 to 2 on a swing trade. I ain't trying to hold that shit. Okay, Goldilocks is trying to drop a little. Let's see. Last week, bearish, ugly bearish reversal pattern. Seen better, but it's definitely in this area, right? It came into this area. We've sold off hard right here. We sold off hard right here. We sold off hard right here. We kind of just came back into this area we've been selling off from. I'm not sure if it's ready to go like another leg to break this yet, because we have this really nice push up. But let me see what we got on the daily. Okay, we're rejecting the 50 EMA a little bit. This looks like it might be ready to go back up a little. So this is a price that I've been looking at that I really wanted it to get to around this area. I'll just put it at these wicks. I really thought price was going to get up into the 1956, 1957 area. It didn't quite make it there. Ooh, yeah, so the structure is starting to change on the 4 hour. I'm not trying to buy this for it to go higher yet. I like how the structure broke here. Okay, break of structure. We came up, we made lower lows, lower highs, I mean, and now we're making lower lows again. So until it busts through these highs, I'm going to remain overall bearish on gold, just based off of structure alone. Let me go to the 1 hour, and I'm going to fib this move from top to bottom and look for these areas for price to fall at again, most likely. A little bit of divergence right here, so I'll note this from here to here, and from here to here, we got some divergence going on. So the momentum could be dying out. This was the 50 EMA, right, pretty much right here, that it hit the 50 EMA and then rejected pretty nicely. So I do think this is going to be a good opportunity to buy price up into here, to be honest. I don't like to counter trend trade a whole lot, but when it makes a big old move like that, it might be worth it. So I'm going to fib this impulse. The TPs are coming into the sell box, so that looks pretty clean to me. I think on this one, I would have to wait for the 78.6, to be honest, just because it's pretty risky. Gold could just keep dropping at this point. But if we come in at the 78.6, we can put a tighter stop, like about gold be moving. So this move up was from top to bottom. That was a very fast 240 pips. So it is moving. It's kind of volatile right now. That's why your stop's got to be a little bit bigger than normal. TPs are up here, so it's still a good 6-to-1 setup. I'll just extend this out just a hair. 6-to-1. I'm not against it. I really am not against this. So let it come down into this, and then probably a limit order situation. It's going to be like a do or die type trade. Anything at the 78.6 for me is do or die. It's a crazy good risk to reward. So I know most people aren't going to hold the whole position, but even if you get in, you hit that 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 mark, and you take half off, and you just let the rest do whatever it wants to do, okay, you can still make up to over 3% on your trade, right? So 3 or 4% even, because you took half off here and the rest is going up. So half of your position is going to be taken out up here. The other half is going to be taken out right here. So it's usually you get 3R, 4R on your return to your money, right, on this. And so if you do take an L on a 78.6 trade that I give, what my recommendation would be to make sure that you're putting the same amount of risk on every single one of your 78.6 positions, just so one winner can easily make you back your money. And I'm more of a risk. I don't like taking a whole lot of risk. So if I do take an L first in the day, the second time I get in and it goes into profit, I either make the decision on the time of the day to either just cut my position right there and just stay at break even, or cut half of it, so I only lose half as much as what I did on the first one and just let the rest right out, right? So that's a little bit how I manage my money on that. Okay, the VIX. This thing is crazy. So volatility index, VIX up, indices down most of the time. So I'm still saying that this has a big opportunity a big chance to move to the upside. I know it's been some, literally I've been saying that for weeks now, but nothing has really told me otherwise. You know, it is very low. It's at a low point. 15 on the VIX is extremely low. Now, this was pre-corona virus. Is that what it's called? COVID? Whatever. 11.5. That price, if that ever gets hit again, I will be so extremely bearish on the indices. It is ridiculous. But I already am. I don't think the market it recovered like the price is telling us it did. Nothing in my opinion fundamentally looks like it is ridiculously recovered like the prices did. So I still think everything is going to drop again, to be honest, which means this has got to go up on a ridiculous level. So here's some levels that I'm looking for the VIX to break, and once they do, we should get a really big movement on the VIX. So if it breaks 1820, this thing is most likely coming up to the 26 area. On the 4 hour, I'm going to actually put it at this structure mark, because if it starts to make bullish structure, it should start to fly. We do have bullish divergence, so I'm not looking to buy the indices no matter what they look like. 1 hour, are we above? Okay, so it did start to pop a little bit yesterday. Let me, sometimes I'll use the Hikanashis right here because it does give a little bit of a easier way to read this because there's so many gaps. So this doesn't look like a bad little spot tomorrow. Let's see. Okay, so I'm bullish on these. I want this to, I want this to move to the upside, which is going to bring the indices to the downside. So if I get any bearish setups on the indices, I'm taking it. Well, right off the bat, the NASDAQ on the 1 hour has mad bullish divergence. Bearish divergence, excuse me. So it's been moving up, up, up. Divergence is showing eventually it's going to drop. That's one sign. Let's see what the weekly is saying. Weekly is showing it at all-time highs. Like I said, I don't believe it should be at all-time highs at all. So we broke those all-time highs. The weekly has bearish divergence as well, all the way back from even over here. So since August, almost a full year's worth of just, I don't believe it's still going up. Daily, the divergence is there as well. So here's the all-time highs. We are diverged from that. So there's just no way possible in my system that I can look to buy this. I definitely could be, wrong. It could still keep going up for sure. Nothing is really screaming I'm going to turn around yet. Here's the area, the all-time highs that just broke. So I know a bunch of people are going to be looking to play the break and retest right here. And that's cool. That's their system. The divergence is just in my face right now from all angles. So I would really like to see, from this swing to this swing, the momentum's falling. But like price is still just taking off. So like I said, the divergence on the 1 hour, I'm waiting. Once this structure starts to shift to the downside, we should really get a move down. We really should, to be honest. On the daily, the volume is so low right here. Even though we're making all-time highs, it just doesn't add up to me. So with this type of bullish candle that breaks highs, you usually see like a really big, like a really nice size volume at the very least. And this volume yesterday was literally nothing. So I'm very much leaning towards the downside. I don't want to try to catch the top right here. That's not me. But if we see like a big impulse to the downside, you already know I'm looking for that, fib that, and then let's go to the downside. One more leg. So this is probably going to look the same. Yep. Divergence. 1 hour. Major divergence. 4 hour. major, major, major divergence. So it's the same thing as the NASDAQ. It's making all-time highs. It's got so much divergence that I just can't look to buy it at all. From November 20th all the way over, just completely diverged. I don't know how it's still grinding up. To me, doesn't even make sense, but let's see here. No volume again. No volume on this push to the upside. Here was the all-time highs that broke. So yeah, I'm simply just waiting for some bearish structure to form, and then I'm looking to take this thing down, down, down. Really, just one more leg. I don't like to swing trade, but we got a little trend going on right here. Once this breaks, I'm not a big trend line fan, but whenever I'm looking for a trend to change, that's when I draw my trend line, if that makes sense. So it just kind of showing me this little rising wedge pattern, waiting for structure to just break down, come and retest, and then just trying to catch this wave right here. Right, just trying to catch one little wave. Because after it does that, shoot, that might be enough pullback for it to just go see ya again, because it's so stupid bullish. This sucker right here smacked the 78.6 on me and dropped pretty nicely yesterday. This one has been actually kind of showing some more bearish signs. And what we're seeing right now is some divergence in the indice market, period. So US 30 has been, it made all-time highs a long time ago, and it's just been grinding, 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 grinding. And, it broke the all-time highs way back here and just has been moving up. It's got this flatter type divergence on the weekly, even though it's been just soaring. But on the daily, you can see the divergence is so heavy. Big heavy. So, I haven't looked to buy it. Ever since it broke the all-time highs, it's been diverging with this little ugly rising wedge, if you want to call it that. It's just been ugly in my opinion. So it's starting to look like it could possibly break this little trend that it's in. That's what I really would like to see to confirm this to go down. And if the VIX pops in a major way, these are all setting up, in my opinion, to make a bigger move to the downside. Okay, and to me, it kind of has a little Wyckoff look to it right here, with the kind of a stop hunt move up, sharp move down, and we're coming back into this. If we get a big sign of strength to the downside, that'll pretty much indicate this thing should drop at least back into these levels down here, at the very, very least. So I'm going to bring this out. Demand down here, of course. So let's see here. No buys for me. On the 1 hour, it is actually setting up for another little swing down right now. So from swing to swing, I think that 78.6 might not be a bad little spot for tomorrow. I'm going to have to look at that as it opens. I don't really like to play the indices except during the time where they're supposed to move. So this looks like a pretty good, decent setup. You can see the momentum. There's no divergence to the downside. The momentum is still decreasing pretty heavily to the downside, so that's good. The volume is picking up as the market's moving down. That's a sign that it should continue to the downside. You've got this little trend going on. If you go to the line chart, you can see how this connects a little bit better. It might spike up here one more time and spike you out before it drops, but this looks like a pretty good, decent setup. And if you're about that life, you could hold this thing for like 11 to 1, 12 to 1. But right here is what I'm seeing. I like the break of all this structure right there. I'm liking US 30 to the downside tomorrow. So I'll probably look at that tomorrow as well, as one of the better looking setups of the day. Okay, now let's get into the crypto market, and the cryptos are moving. So I'll reanalyze that. Let's just look at this from a weekly standpoint. First of all, I haven't touched this button in a while. Let me just look at the monthly. Okay, nice rejection right there, but that candle's crazy. Okay, so the weekly, it is holding at the 50 EMA nicely. Last week it gave a reversal pattern. Okay, we got this nice candlestick right here, rejection off the 50, and it looks like we could be moving up. So let's mark this area right here. This is an area where structure broke through. I do think there's going to be some type of bearish reaction around 48, 49K. There should, at least. If not, then this thing is really going to rocket ship fast to the upside. If you've been on my analysis for a while, we've been calling this out, this exact, almost to the T move. Only thing it didn't do that I really wanted it to do, I really wanted it to sweep these lows out a little bit more than, I mean, it didn't sweep shit, but like I wanted it to sweep these lows and then make this move that we're doing. So this is that Wyckoff accumulation that I talked about in my channel. It's almost playing out to the T, right? It's more or less the second side of the accumulation schematic that there is for Wyckoff. There doesn't always have to be a spring in the market, but it comes down in here into this 31K area, and it gave really good volume. So with a candle like rejection candle with high volume, that was kind of showing the reversal could happen. Then we had the reversal pattern right here, so that sign of strength. When you go onto the lower time frames, like the 1 hour, you can really see the test. So the test with low volume is what you want to see. And I spoke about it happening. It just didn't go low as I wanted it to, right? But it did sweep low, come up, and then this low volume test. You can see there was low volume right here. And then boom, we start to get the demand that picks up. Little demand that picks up. And then we're getting big demand, big demand. So, guys, I'm very, very much bullish on the cryptos at this point. I think what we saw play out right here was a perfect campaign by the big boys, and they played it very well. They had people questioning which way it's going to go, and that's what they want to do. They want to be able to position themselves without moving the chart extremely fast. So obviously, when price fell the first time, obviously they bought some down in here because you can just see how quickly it reacted to the upside. Okay, so they bought a little bit down here to fill up their pockets. They bought a little bit down here to fill up their pockets, and if they put their whole position in right off the bat, it goes straight up, right? So what they have to do is they have to strategically move the market to where, okay, now I can get some more. And you see how fast it goes up every time it came down here. So when it came down into this area again, that's probably their last little load up, in my opinion. And I think they have enough. I think they have enough money in it now to where it's going to start to really move again, how people want. It has this really nice move up, flag pattern right here, and another move up. You see the momentum is increasing as price is making higher highs, so there's no like big signs of divergence off the swings. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw this out right here. You can see if you could have drawn like a little wedge pattern down in here. It was kind of giving a little wedge. But I personally think that when it comes back into this area, pretty much X marks the spot right here. That's going to be, really good opportunity for you to catch the next little ride up into that zone up there. So from here to here is what I'm seeing. You can see the 61.8 lines up really well with the X, marks the spot. I'm just going to throw an X on it. So that's where I'm looking for the market to get to. The volume profile is lining up excellent with it. Let's bring in some more of the range just so we can get some more price to see if this, oh wow, perfect, perfect, perfect. Yeah, I mean, this looks like it's going to be one of the setups of the year type shit. So I'll be looking for that type of move on Bitcoin to bring it up at least to 45. I think depending on, let me see how the volume profile looks with a little bit more price into it. Yeah, guys, you can see just how much more volume was being put into the market down here than there was up here. Let's bring in some more price, right? So here we go. That's where I think price is actually going to head to. Let me put some 4-hour time frames on and see what we got going on here. A lot of volume in right here, a little bit of volume in right there, so that's not a bad spot, to be honest. And then up there at around that 56. If we start to form some big time bullish structure, this thing is really going to take off, in my opinion. Like some big volatility. So I'm excited for Bitcoin. Let me just look at some of these other ones because I know they haven't necessarily taken off as much. If you follow us on IG, gave out this free setup on Ethereum. As Bitcoin was moving pretty fast, I figured that Ethereum was going to start to follow, and it definitely did. Hit this buy box, hit the 2 targets that we were looking at almost to the T. So that was perfect. Let me get this off. Let me kind of look at this on the weekly. What did this weekly candle print? Not as pretty. Definitely not as pretty. Daily hasn't broken above any like real levels. Once Ethereum breaks above 28.60, that's the big sign for me on Ethereum that it's gonna just rocket ship back to these all-time highs. And I personally think Ethereum's going to move faster than Bitcoin will this next cycle. But it's proving me wrong. Bitcoin's moving a lot faster right now. Yeah, so there's not as much bullish signs on Ethereum right now. In fact, the 1 hour has a little bit of divergence. Let me just mark this little trend off as well. Coming back into that would be nice. Maybe something like this. Coming back into that. And then another move up. Even if it does something like this, so we got a left, we got a head, and if it comes even down into here, I think that's not a bad look for a possibility to try to catch the move to the upside. Because like I said, I'm pretty bullish on it. I know there is this little impulse down right here, and if you just kind of bring it over, there is some fib levels that we could react at. But like I said, let it fall down into here to make that inverted head and shoulders, and then try to catch that move up. So Bitcoin is really going to be the one I focus on most likely. Litecoin hasn't really. Oh yeah, it has. Look, we got 2 nice bullish candles off that. Nice rejection off the 50 EMA. There was some divergence on the 4 hour on the daily right here, so this looks like it's gonna start to move up too. Let me just mark this. Oh yeah, so we're about to break out right there. I think this is another good opportunity if it does come down to try to catch the next move to the upside. You can see the bullish structure is starting to form either way. So we have a lower high, or sorry, a higher low, and then a higher high. So the structure for the bulls are in play on the 4 hour. I would look for something like this and then move to the upside to take the next wave up. XRP doesn't look too good. I'm gonna kind of just let XRP do what it does. It's kind of just still lagging. Might be breaking out right here, but it's It's not looking as pretty. Let me see what it looks like on the daily. Probably not great. 200 EMA rejection. Yeah, I think XRP needs to get its butt above like 106 for me to really care about it. So you can just kind of see how this structure is already starting to break. The 40K structure is really starting to break. And I know we're under the 200 EMA. That's still like a bearish sign on the daily. But, you know, as long as these don't cross, you know, as long as this 50 EMA doesn't cross down on this 200, I think we're good to go on Bitcoin for literally another bull cycle. So that's it on the analysis today. I appreciate everyone for coming on and checking it out. It doesn't look like there's anything in the chat, so I'll probably most likely be on again tomorrow night and the night after that to see how some of these play out. Hopefully we can get a nice retracement on the dollar, and hopefully EG comes down and gives a possible entry right here. Same with GJ. I would need it to come way down. Gold, this is a possible move as well. And US 30, possible move. So a couple setups for tomorrow. We'll see if they hit. And I'll be back on tomorrow night to review them. So y'all have a good one. Take care. Peace out.